CNN political commentators Ashley Allison, Alice Stewart, Scott Jennings, and CNN senior political analyst John Avlon. John, what are we seeing?
We're seeing Republicans scrambling to change their position on something as fundamental and allegedly personal and principled as abortion, because the politics are a buzzsaw right now. I mean, you're seeing, what Kelly's package was phenomenal because it brought the receipts, right? I mean, these are websites being changed. But these are things from maximalist positions like a personhood bill, no exceptions in case of rape and incest or life of the mother, that now people are saying, well, I misspoke, I was unclear. That rings hollow because it's not remotely credible at a time, especially when the number of Americans who identify as pro-choice is now up to 55%.
This is the oldest dance in politics, right? After the primary, the move to the middle. This is the Romney Etch-a-Sketch slide to appeal to moderate voters. The problem here is if you are going to evolve on an issue as important as abortion, you need to do so with conviction and with passion. And as she pointed out in the piece, you don't want to be evolving, saying, this is exactly how I feel. I really do support exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You have to do so with conviction, because the key now is get moderates and undecided voters. That's the game for both sides, Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I think the authenticity issue for the one clip we saw is a real thing. I do think Republicans, though, have had, at least for most of my political career, a pretty reasonable position on abortion, which is we're pro-life, and we believe in the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother. Somewhere along the way, people evolved away from two of those three exceptions. Not everybody. I mean, we do have Senate candidates in Colorado, Washington State, and others that are running on a different platform. So I think the personal nature of it is important. You have to be true to your own values. If you're shifting around on this, people will notice that. But also, what Alice said is absolutely true. What you choose to focus on matters. So if you're running in a Republican primary, you might focus on more cultural issues. But if you're running in a general election, you might focus on, I don't know, inflation and gas prices.
If you're the Democrat, though, the question is, how much will you focus on abortion, Ashley? If you were running a campaign, how much would you have your candidate lean into that?
It would be in my top 3 issues, for sure, at every stump speech, at every campaign rally. I will say for a long time, Democrats struggled to talk about the issue of abortion. And it's unfortunate because the country has been on a pro-choice, as you said, slide for a very long time. And the court's overreach really was alarming. It's one thing to say, we're going to take your right away. It's actually different when the right is taken away. And the shock and wake up for a generation who has never lived a day in their life, including myself, without having a right to choose. We are afraid of the time that we're going. So Dems should be speaking to young people like me and women who also grew up in a pre-Roe era who don't want to go back there as well.
So abortion is one undercurrent we're seeing right now in the midterm elections, but there are others. There's actually several things going on at once, and we're just starting to hear from some conservatives, conservative commentators, that one of the weights weighing down the Republican Party is Donald Trump. I want you to listen to something that Ben Shapiro, a conservative commentator, had to say about this.
So for independents, which is half of them, who say that Trump is a factor in their decision-making, 4-1, they say that they're going to oppose Trump. Is that good for Republicans anywhere in here? Meanwhile, Republicans are caught up in, how do we show that we think that the FBI raid is really bad? What can we say to get Trump off our backs? What can we do here? Again, you can rip the Trump FBI raid. You can, and you should. But you can still point out that if you guys are distracted on the Trump FBI raid, that is going to not be a winning issue for you.
What do you think?
Well, I hate to denigrate our profession here and make it sound so simple, but the reality is, if you have a poll, right now, the number one issue in the country is inflation, the economy, and it's been that way for a long time. And for Republicans, there are some other issues that pop up there. Immigration is still very important. But if you're not talking about those things, if you're talking about Donald Trump, if you're relitigating the 2020 election, if you're spending all day long on the raid, you're not talking about the things that the actual voters who are going to elect you or not elect you care about. And so it's the oldest sort of tactical issue in the book. Am I actually having a conversation with people about the things they want to hear about or not? And if you're not, it usually doesn't work out.
And Alice, is Trump making this more difficult?
Certainly, because he is making headlines. He is advocating for issues that are important to him, past election grievances, the abysmal FBI raid of his property. And for him, that's good for him because it helps him raise money. It continues to keep his name in the spotlight. But that doesn't do anything to help a lot of these candidates that are out there trying to show a contrast with their Democratic challengers. And yes, Democrats would much rather be talking about Donald Trump than the inflation, recession, crime, and all of these issues that are plaguing the party, and not to mention President Biden's low approval numbers, Republicans don't need to play into their hand. They need to show the contrast and focus on the issues that, as Scott said, people across this country are concerned with, and that is inflation and crime.
This is the frustration that Republican strategists feel. The problem is that Donald Trump is, by all polling, the front runner for the Republican nomination, and he keeps inserting himself in the election. And guess what? About Donald Trump, it's always about himself, except the comments have gotten even more unhinged, right? So he's, just the other day, he said he wanted an election immediately rescinded or immediate redo. I mean, that's nutburger stuff from a guy who's treated as the top of the front runner for the Republican Party. And he is single-handedly turning 2022 into a choice election rather than a referendum, which is what Republicans want.
But the candidates aren't running away from him. They are seeking his endorsement. They're falling over themselves in their primary to get his support. They have a choice, too. They could say, we believe the 2020 election wasn't stolen, but they're not. And they're voters, and they're actually winning. 2/3 of the folks that were in GOP primaries are election deniers, and they won. So it's not like the party is actually taking a stance against him. They're falling over to get his love and affection.
And we talk about choice versus referendum. And in essence, this may be becoming a referendum, but it's not on the current president. It's on the last one.
That's what the Republicans want, is a referendum on Biden, the state of the country. Direction of the country is 30-70, right track, wrong track right now. He wants it to be about him. That, as Alice said, that's good for him. And the frustrating thing from a nuts and bolts campaign perspective is he is the biggest fundraising driver in the party. When he does these things, money flows to him, but that never flows out to the other campaigns. And so Democrats have unlimited money right now, and Donald Trump has the unlimited capacity to raise money, and then the Republican candidates are sort of left twisted.
You'd almost think it'd be time for Republicans to actually stand up and denounce the guy, right?
If we can, I want to continue this thread for a moment here, but on the Democratic side and choices that Democrats are making here. We had Maggie Hassan, who's running a tight race for re-election for Senate in New Hampshire, and she responded to the comments that President Biden made in this fundraiser last week, where he said some of the ideology that's driving some of Donald Trump's supporters, the MAGA supporters, as he called, that was the word he used, he said is semi-fascist. Well, Maggie Hassan didn't like that. She said, I have concerns about attacks on our democracy. I have concerns that some people seem to think that violence is an appropriate way of resolving disputes in our democracy. But I think President Biden's comments just painted with way too broad a brush. So you have someone running in a tight Senate race distancing herself from that. At the same time, we just learned last night, Joe Biden, who's in Pennsylvania today, is going back to Pennsylvania Thursday night to give a speech on standing up for democracy, which seems awfully close to the comments that he made that are being criticized.
I agree. Joe Biden's campaign was about saving the soul of our nation, and we are in a very dangerous moment around democracy. I also want to put context into what the president said. He did not call half of America fascist. He said people who believe that the 2020 election was stolen, people who want to ban books, people who are taking these steps, we're on a very dangerous line, and we have to call a thing, or we run the risk of allowing someone like Donald Trump. We just had a conversation about how dangerous he is. I don't think Joe Biden is calling everybody fascist, but you have to stand up for right and wrong is wrong.
The term semi-fascist is not helpful. It's not befitting the office of president. And while you can absolutely call out the dangers to our democracy, but it makes obviously perfect sense for someone like Senator Hassan, because look, in New Hampshire, more than 40% of registered voters are independents. Right? I mean, another 30 and change are Republicans. Democrats are the third category among registered voters. So she needs to be able to reach out, and that language doesn't help her do that.
And actually, you're being kind in terms of trying to parse and put what he said into a certain context. The takeaway from Republicans is that the president of the United States, who campaigned on, won on, and was sworn in on a message of unity, lowering the temperature and bringing this country together, just called half of the country fascist. And you can parse it how you want, but that's the takeaway. And then Maggie Hassan was right. He painted the Republican Party as a bunch of fascists.
This isn't a one-time thing. I mean, Biden has all the precision, of a surgeon with a meat axe here. I mean, when Republicans wouldn't go along with his bill to federalize all elections, he said, well, you're either Jefferson Davis or Bull Connor. I mean, his natural instinct is to go to an extreme insult, sort of. So you're either racist or you're a fascist. That is exactly what he. You
No,
know that's
that
what
is
he said.
But he's also a guy who praised Mitch McConnell for being a patriotic American. His natural instinct is not to throw meat. I think part of the problem is when he throws the red meat.
He tried to fight a guy in the Democrat primary.
It's not. I think actually, part of the issue is it's not authentic because Biden is actually not naturally a red meat buzzsaw type politician.
I will just close with this one point, Ashley, if you'll weigh in on what we're going to see. Whether it's right or wrong, I think it's notable that the White House and Joe Biden seem to be running toward this theme. Maybe not those words again, but they're leaning into this theme.
I respect the White House and their leadership in this moment. Our democracy is on the verge of falling apart. And I love this country. I know everybody on this panel does. And leadership is needed right now, and we have to call it out. And I think that is what you will see on Thursday. And it is needed because we have election deniers all over the ballot.
All right, Ashley Allison, Scott Jennings, Alice Stewart, John Avalon, thank you all for being here, filling the table. Appreciate it.